Go for Side Effects is sponsored by Wild Branch Products. Wild Branch is a truly pure cannabis oil. They make CBD containing 0.00% THC and no carrier oils. Use Wild Branch oils and salves to calm, cool, and soothe your body, leaving you pain-free. I put on a salve. I used the oils. I was able to walk for hours. I believe in this product 100%. Use promo code GWI podcast for 15% off. Use promo code GWI podcast for 15% off. Click the link below. Thank you. Welcome to Go For Side Effects, guys. And also, this is Veterans Connecting. I'm your host, Kevin Simon. Tonight is totally different. We jumped from Facebook over to YouTube Live, so we can try to connect with more veterans. And so I'm hoping everybody's going to jump in, be able to listen, and bring in more listeners, and also bring in more veterans to talk about what's going on. And this is my co-host, John. John, say hi to everybody.
How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully well.
And tonight we got a special guest. This is Joe Garcia, former Marine, that I'm going to let him talk about his time in the military, what he did, because we talked some last night. So, Joe, take it away.
All right. So my name is Joe Garcia. I, of course, United States Marine Corps. I live here in Colorado. I've lived here since I got out of the Marine Corps. I was fortunate enough to get myself educated and got me a teaching degree, my BA. And about 10 years after that, I got my master's. So yeah, I've got 27 years in education. But all that would have never happened if it wouldn't have been, my experience in the Marine Corps. I joined the Marine Corps in 1987. I first graduated high school, tried college for a year down in Arizona State, tried to go down there and wrestle. I was a minnow amongst sharks. And after a year of that, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. School wasn't my gig. So I signed up with a buddy in the buddy system when we went to the Marine Corps. And boot camp was everything they told me about. I think being an athlete and a former wrestler helped me with boot camp and get through all the physical part. The mental part, I think, some hard coaches helped that, but there's nothing that prepares you for that. I left boot camp, went to North Carolina as originally as an engineer. So I went through engineer school, got orders to go to Okinawa. Didn't know where in the heck that was at in the world, but I got shipped over there, and you realize real quick how small Okinawa is. And so anyway, my time there, I was stationed at Camp Hansen. I kind of joined the local wrestling team there, wrestled for Camp Hansen, a little bit for the Marine Corps. They took us over to Japan, wrestled there, into the Philippines and into Hawaii. So I did that on my off time, but it was also something that kept me kind of out of trouble. But while I was there, I was kind of, recruited or talked to about if I was interested in doing some maybe a lateral change, career change into some intel part. And I was like, well, can you tell me a little bit more about it? And I kind of liked it because I was, really athletic and always had pretty decent grades. Never had no troubles with the law. So when I got back from Okinawa, I went to school for intel. After all the background checks, you'd be amazed how far and what things they find in that background check from the simplest of things. Not that I had anything bad in my history, but anyway, yeah, that was pretty unique on that. So after I got done with school, I was immediately sent down to Panama. That was during the Manuel Noriega time zone. So I was down there about 8-9 weeks. Did some pretty interesting stuff down there. One of the most interesting things I did while I was there was I had to pretend to be a novitiate in the Catholic Church while we were kind of undercover, trying to get information. And after there, I kind of jumped around a little bit, and for security reasons, I won't say exactly who, what, where, when. I just feel it'd be better and safer that way. I jumped around. I was in Turkey. I have a list here. I was down in Kenya, Somalia for a little bit. I was in Amsterdam, Australia. And then that was about the time the Gulf War started. And so I was immediately shipped like August 3rd, like as soon as it barely started and they invaded Kuwait. I was down there with a contact team. It was called Task Force Papa Bear Ripper. And so basically we were there to get as much as intelligence we could from our team. We crossed, the border several times into Kuwait, because that's where a lot of the Republican Guard were. We jumped into Iraq periodically for small stints, popping in and out, getting what we could. Then when the war was getting ready to start, our main objective was Kuwait International. And so on our way trying to get there, we, of course, ran into several Republican Guard that were giving themselves up. We would, of course, kind of give them their rights, some food rations, water, call back because we were advancing so fast, give them a location where they're at. And it was from 50 to hundreds giving up. As we got closer to Kuwait City in the international, then we started getting some small arms fires and some little retaliation here and there. Full out combat, that's something I guess I can say that all the training that you do, whether it's physically, psychologically, until you pull that trigger, then, there's no turning back. That's a whole nother phase. So, of course, I want to live, I want to survive. And we got closer into Kuwait International with other units that we were working with. We secured it within 2 or 3 hours. There was a few Marines that were with us that did get, some small arms fire. And yeah, that was unfortunate. Soon after that, we were assigned to the highway of death to kind of not so much take a body count, but I guess just see what information we could find out, whether from vehicles, tanks, maybe not so much personnel. And that's another one that was really hard, the smell of, a human body burnt. And
doesn't exactly leave your memory, does it, Joe?
No.
I know it doesn't, because obviously we were on ground at the same time. So you were an engineer back in the early stages.
In the early stages, I was an engineer from 87 to 88.
What'd you do in the engineers? I was an engineer. So that's why I'm asking.
Well, I was 1341, so it was kind of a diesel mechanic.
Okay.
It was, more a little bit of everything. Diesel mechanic. We helped transportation. So it was a little bit of everything there in Okinawa.
Sure. No, I just curious because, being the engineers, when I hear especially Marine different branch, always kind of curious what you guys did. I was in the construction part of engineers. I wear an engineer hat, but most of the time because we were part of it, and I think I say this every time we have a podcast, I was combat engineers, and at that given point, the construction part of engineers fell under the umbrella of combat engineers.
Okay.
I mean, we still, blew up a lot of stuff that was part of our job. But anyways,
yeah, we worked quite a bit with the combat engineers also in when we were in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. I'm not going to ask you what you thought of them. I don't dig myself a hole.
And John was probably in that group.
I don't know. I look back at it now, and we were all trying to win a common goal. So,
right.
One without the other, I don't know. We could have got things done the way we did. I don't really have anything negative. I mean, there's some people or some branch at certain time you come across that are negative or just not part of the big picture.
Them Army guys, I know.
No.
Now, I have a question. So I know where you went to boot camp was San Diego.
I was a Hollywood Marine.
Yeah, and see, I went to San Diego. It was there right before they shut the Naval Station boot camp down in San Diego. How many Navy guys did you see jump over your fence and run over and try to escape? I never
seen any Navy guys jump over. I did see one Marine jump the fence and I don't know exactly what happened over at the airport, but from what my understanding, it wasn't very good because, they would tell us, if you want to jump and go there, that's the way to go. But your chances are slim and none or graduate,
Well, we were literally told if you jump the fence, this is the part of the fence you jump and just keep running straight. What they didn't tell you was that you ran into the Marine barracks, their boot camp, and they would keep your ass there for 2 weeks. Oh yeah, our company commander at the end told us. I mean, we chased a guy down that took off. I was on roving patrol, and we saw the guy taking off over the fence. We went over the fence, and then somehow he managed to get past everything. We went all the way into San Diego, into the freaking city, and I was still in boot camp. And we were told, keep chasing the guy, just keep, and it ended up, man, we got there, and them Marines, boy, when they pulled up to arrest that guy, woo, I was like, shit, I'm glad I wasn't a Marine.
And you didn't, and they didn't say anything to you?
No, because they told us to keep him tracked down, keep tracking him down and find out where he's going and everything.
So you and how many other guys in the Navy are running after this dude?
2. There was just 2 of us that night.
So did you just find the bar on the way back then?
No. We got into the vehicle with them. They brought us back to Naval Station and told us to get back to our barracks and keep roving.
And back in that day, you could probably get away with a lot more keeping them for 2 weeks and scaring the shit out of them than you could now,
I figured maybe you'd be, hitting the bar up or maybe you were shackled in the back of a cop car because you decided to chase them.
Shit, I wish.
So anyway, let me just continue a little bit. But so after the whole Desert Storm deal, I got out in 93. And when I got out, even after I got back, I just didn't feel well, my body I went from 160 pounds to like 138. Of course, I thought maybe it was because I didn't eat very much. I didn't like the meals over there, all the flies, and you can only eat so many MREs and care packages they sent for you, so if it was fruit and vegetables, anything I could get on. Yeah. So I thought maybe it was that, but then about 93 when I got out, man. I just my stomach was messed up. I said I've got to go at least check to see, because there was already talk of some kind of Gulf War syndrome stuff. And so sure enough, I went to the VA hospital and took a couple of different visits. And I think the third time I went, they found parasites in my stool, my intestines. So that took good 5-6 months, to get me going. And then after that, it was just kind of trickled, I dealt with some irritable bowel syndrome, some rashes, fatigue, headaches, just not I said, I'm pretty damn physical and active. Like I just feel tired and beat up. So I continued to go to the VA and it's still undiagnosed, whatever that it means, and then there was an incident that happened when I was married that kind of took the big turn for me that I needed some help. And so I was sleeping one night and I was trying to remember last night when we talked. I don't know if it was Pearl Harbor, the movie, the newer one, or Saving Private, one of those movies. We just watched at the theater, and I remember coming home and just processing all that and how realistic it was. I was like, wow, like the technology of movies now is amazing. And so it stayed in my mind. I went to bed and I guess I had a full-blown flashback because my wife told me that at the time she said I was army crawling through the house, that I grabbed my 9mm, went to the back door, was peeking out, and she heard me. So she went and checked on me, and I stood up hiding behind like a wood stove that I had. And she'd said, Joe, are you okay? And I remember the light going on. I had the gun, pointed right at her, and I dropped it and I kind of snapped, and it was loaded. Thank God it didn't go off. I think about that now. That's another story. I don't know how I would explain that, but I woke up that next morning and I was like, there's something wrong, man. Like I could have killed my wife last night and not even know, Right. I always said that muchísimo of I ain't going to go share a string. I'm a jarhead. We don't need that shit. I'm strong, And no, after about 6 months of finally finding the right counselor, because first they tried that group therapy, with a bunch of us. And I was telling Kevin that, I'm not that rah kind of guy to sit around and hey, this is this, that, how I feel, whatever. And so I did all mine mostly one-on-one. And anyway, she was I say kind of a gypsy counselor because she had rocks and crystals and, whatever,
Damn.
But she took me through some deep counseling, man, for, I bet, over 10 years.
Did it help?
Oh, it saved my life, 100%.
Really?
I went from looking at it like a shrink trying to help me. It was like, I have a problem or I have to be over there. My detour is to go here and here. And she changed my whole mindset.
How about, aside from the mindset, how about the physical stuff that you encountered before explaining about the therapist? How is that still hanging with you today?
Oh yeah. In fact, my irritable bowel's never ever gotten better. So I've just kind of learned to live with it, and really, as many drugs as they give you in the VA, you're kind of lab rat, try this, try that. If I would have taken everything they ever gave me, I'd be really screwed up,
You're damn right. I some of them I just can't take. It's like there's no way, and I think that's, you hit something that I said a long time on this program. Is you went and seeked help. I don't know, whenever you get out of combat, I don't care. I mean, I don't think they should do it to every veteran that comes out. I do think anybody who was in combat, I think they should automatically set you up with a one-on-one counselor and make sure you're fit enough to go back in. And they got places like Camp Hope that, that are outside sources. Why do we need outside? I mean, I'm grateful for them, but why do we need outside sources when the VA should get off their ass and get these guys help the day they get back to reconnect with themselves, then reconnect with their families?
I couldn't agree with you more. Just, we got back from Desert Storm. It was a real quick debrief of some families, this and that. The next day we were in garrison, and that was it. Like, there was no debrief, no talk, and you're right. I think anybody that does see any kind of, traumatic should be debriefed at some point, or at least have something set up so that you could get some red flags right there,
Right.
And, I told you that I seeked it, but I seeked it only because I was worried about killing my wife at the time. Otherwise, I don't know that I would have. I mean, like I told them, I don't really care about whatever percentage, this, that. Man, if you could give me the pill just to make this shit go away, I'd take that over any amount of money or whatever you give me.
I think that's why. I think that's why a lot of guys jump to opioids, marijuana, heroin, drinking. I mean, because me and John, we've been talking to a lot of veterans, but I think that's why they jump to it. It's because that's how they release themselves from the war. Because a lot of people think, oh, the Gulf War wasn't anything. Well, let me tell you something. If half of the kids went and did what I did back then, they would come home going, what the hell did I just get out of? And just like y'all. I mean, I can't explain what it's like to be on land, just like y'all couldn't, unless Marines sometimes can explain what is out at sea, but you just can't explain, but we all have the same thing. And I just think it's weird. We got the, bowel problems. We got the rashes. We got, I got neuropathy. Everybody knows that. And I got, people got the shakes. But we all have similar things that the VA, they're addressing it, but all they're doing is, like last week, I put a Band-Aid on my head. They're putting a Band-Aid over a bullet wound. And we need to come together and figure out, okay, what exactly were we exposed to?
Well, I think part of it is when you come back from, if you're deployed and you're in combat or war zone, you come back, because you don't understand necessarily when you come back, you're just grateful to see your family. You're not thinking about what you just witnessed, and you don't know what's going on in your head at the given point. I mean, it might take, given a certain time frame for you to realize something isn't right. Some people have the ability to acknowledge that maybe something isn't quite right, but on the flip side of the coin, what is it? And unless they're talking to somebody else, and it's not like they're going to go bring up a bunch of feelings to a fellow vet, because a lot of us at that given point might, in our younger years, say, well, that's a sign of weakness. We don't do that, which we know is ridiculous. But when you're young, not that you have to be young, any age, but you leave out of theater and go back home, and you can't put your finger on it. What's wrong? We know something's wrong, but we're like, what am I missing? You're really just talking to yourself, right, with no answers. So,
now that you say that, like the couple, I don't know, 2 or 3 times I've seen that movie, American Sniper, and he comes back from his deployments and his wife's kind of onto, hey, like, I could relate to that feeling, and probably so many other vets that ever watched that movie. Like, something's wrong, but you really don't, or some don't want to go to the VA because they don't trust the system and the timing and all the crazy madness. And I can say and admit, that when I first got out, yeah, I drank. I drank a lot for probably a couple years. But then, being married and that don't work too well. So, that saved me too. And then just, I have to say that, I believe in my faith. I was fortunate that I had a strong upbringing in faith and I never gave up on it. And I think part of that and that incident happened that night, I said, shit could have gone really bad and I don't want that. So that's why I went and sought help. And even to this day, I can say it that, if I'm feeling edgy or I'm just not feeling right myself, hey, I'll give them a call, whether it's a Zoom or whatever. And I get on, you hate getting with different counselors. That's frustrating. They want you, like, you got to tell your story over and over and over and over and over. I'm like,
Right.
That's the frustrating part. But, sometimes it'll get me off the ledge that I think that I'm on or I'm live in Colorado, so I'm fortunate for the great outdoors, but some people don't have that or don't know where to. I don't know. It's frustrating. I see so many fellow service members and I try to tell them, I try to give them my story or this and that. A few have helped, yeah, but overall there's some that you just can't reach. And
Yeah, and I mean, be honest with you, they're going to want to have to be reached. I mean, I've been able to reach people, and I mean, I had people reach me. I mean, be honest with you, I went to the United Way. That's who I went to for counseling, and it was amazing. She knew all about wars, and I mean, it was amazing. But they hardly charged anything. And I think that's the problem with a lot of guys also don't have the financial,
right.
back in to go, oh, hey, it's $122 a session. I mean, there is programs out there, like United Way was a great way for me. And then, they always say, right after war, I made the biggest mistake. And everybody told me, don't go right back home. I took leave. The day we pulled into port, I had my airplane ticket. That next morning, I flew out. It was the biggest mistake of my life. Because when I came home, I knew, I can look back now and say, boy, that was a mistake. I mean, I was edgy. I didn't sleep very much. Even my mom would say, like first night I got home, I didn't sleep all night. Slept a couple hours. I went out. I hardly was sleeping, because of the routine that we had over there. But the one thing that, like I was dating a girl back here. She was, my high school sweetheart. And, but I looked at her completely different. I looked at all my friends completely different. And when I went back, I did some horrible things to them while I was gone. And I can't get a hold of them and say, hey, I'm sorry for what I did, because they wouldn't understand. We all go through troubling times, but unless you've been in it and into the thick of it, you don't understand.
Well, and then when we left war, when we left theater and came back. So now I was in Germany when I deployed, and then when I came back, but my unit was deactivated, and so we left everything there in theater. And so I found out actually through this podcast over a few different times we've had some guests on explaining that they as well were in Germany, and they also were deactivated. And so aside from just coming back from combat, you're number one, they don't tell you what it's going to be like, because a lot of them themselves don't know what it's going to be like. And then you come back and it's just it's a big blur, aside from, okay, well, I got to do this, and this, in the military scheme of things. Oh, and I got to relocate my family, or what just happened, back to not understanding our own brains, what just happened. And like you had said, Kevin, they really, and I don't know, maybe there's something in place now as we speak. I don't know. It's been a spell since I've been, I ITS'd in '94. So it's, are things different today when the men and women came back from Afghanistan? Were they given any kind of counseling? I have zero idea. None.
I don't think they got the proper. If we're still having 22 a day, then no.
Right.
I mean that's how I look at it. If we're having 22 a day, I mean one's way too many. 22. I mean they got to start figuring this shit out, and that's how I feel about it. And the part that burns me up though is it isn't just what people need to understand. It isn't just mental. It's physical. I mean, every time if people with like what I have, the neuropathy, and I'm not diabetic or anything, but every time I take a step, the only thing you can almost think about, was it mustard gas or sarin gas, or was it the shot, or was it Ptsd? And that sucks. That sucks knowing that later on in life, because every old person, I hate to say it like this, but every old person that has neuropathy, I see them on walkers and I'm like, oh man. And all of them tell me, oh, it only gets worse. I'm like,
oh, gee, thanks, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you guys, I don't know about you, but like, I've always, ever since I came back, like if I go somewhere, especially if it's a mass, see a gymnasium or a concert, I always look for the escape route.
Yep.
I try not to keep my back to this. I'm always observing suspicious activity. Like,
Same.
And the times I was married and then it's just, what's wrong with you? I'm just nothing. And you're used to that, you were on 24-hour.
I swear for me, it gets worse as I get older.
Me too. Thank you very much. And let me tell you something. The Las Vegas shooting. I turned and looked at my wife and I said, that's why I don't go to concerts. Right there. Right there. And I said, I mean, I'll be sitting at a football game and I'll be looking, seeing buildings going, I wonder if there could be a sniper up there.
Jesus.
And
yeah. That's
I mean, it's scary. But
yeah.
That's the thought process that I have. I was glad, Joe, thank you for bringing that up. Now I know I'm not nuts. But
no.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't make you feel like, well, I can't look at my wife and say, that'd be a good place for a sniper up there, and then everybody else having me around and I can't explain why. But it does. It makes you, the psychological part. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's probably still parts that I probably should go talk to a counselor about that I haven't dealt with. But my pastor, it wasn't my pastor. It was that last week's counseling session. And I don't know if you heard that, Joe, but he said something about the managing your feelings and saying grace, having grace. And it's like every time that we would be in church and I would say grace, I always bring up issues I did in the military that my family don't know about. And then it hit me, is like, you got to forgive yourself. And that was a powerful message last week that I never thought about that at all. And I hope a lot of veterans will listen to that part. I mean, that guy, he was a 30-year veteran. I mean, and he knew, I tell you what, he blew me away. I mean, I can still see it in you, Joe, right now. You're still struggling. I don't think there's a day goes by any of us aren't struggling.
Right.
And it's hard. And with the pain and with everything else going on, it just brings it out more. I think as I get older, it brings it out more.
Well, and you said something important there, pain. It's like, okay, a cut or I got a limb or, that too. But there's something in here and here of pain that they don't understand. I mean, I could even tell a counselor, still they don't understand, that pain, that I don't know what's a good word for that, but like you said, maybe a guilt, remorse. I don't know. I just
Right,
know
right.
that's
And
a
it's not,
thing.
I know, we're all in the golf, but to be quite honest, Kevin, you've talked about the various sports you've gone to and what you've done. And Joe, you were talking about how you were in Panama. I was in Honduras. Military folks, okay, the large percent of us are supportive, meaning if you're a civilian and you think military, you're thinking, okay, people killing people. But the bottom line is the largest part of the military is really support. We all work together, but it's really kind of supporting the infantry or whoever it is. It's actually, Joe, as you phrased it earlier, whoever the individual is that's pulling the trigger, or maybe it's not even in time of war, but you're doing something that the civilians don't know what you're doing because it's a secret mission of some sort, and you're not at liberty to talk about. And you have this thing called a security clearance, right? And so, it's not just being in combat. It's, well, I was over here and we did this, which this you can't talk about. Doesn't mean it ain't in our head still. I don't care if you're on a ship or you're on land, where you're at, flying,
Right.
whatever the case is. We got things that we can't discuss. And that in itself is also something that wears on all of us.
Well, that's important. You say that, like, especially being there when we were there for the Gulf, and that period of time of waiting, the alarms, and all the hoops that you jump through in practice. And I mean, that wears on you. I was out in the desert for weeks at a time, and geez, the mental struggle out there and the things that go through your mind, or conversations, or you hear an alarm, or just, like you said, you don't have to actually be pulling the trigger, doing all that, that, yes, but all this other stuff.
Wind, the windstorms or the sandstorms, and how many times do you have your M8 alarms or whatever the alarms were called?
Right.
How many times do you have them go off? Can you count them?
No, I finally stopped counting, Finally stopped.
And what's so weird is, I was telling somebody a couple weeks ago, me and him were talking, and I told him, I said, I'll tell you right now, if I ever went to the Middle East again, I don't know if I could go back, because as soon as that big old blaring sound comes out and for prayer.
Yeah.
Right.
I know I would have flashbacks then. I'm telling you. It's like, first time I heard that, I was like, what in the hell is that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And then, like, also, for me, yeah, it took a long time to finally, not be so judgmental, I should say. But when I came back, anybody with a turban or any Far East, or not Far East, but a guy from that area or person, I was always skeptical.
It's kind of hard to turn that off.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you just wondered, and then of course 9/11, and boof, that triggers that again.
Yeah, got worse. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, man. So, and like I said, no disrespect to anybody, but that it's just hard to turn that off.
Well, right.
Yes.
It'd be no difference than what the Vietnam guys went through, or
right, absolutely,
or the Korean guys went through, or it is. After a while, you come to learn that not everybody is bad and everything.
Right.
But it takes time. But I will say that I wish the one thing that VA would do is, I wish that they would do a research, not doing biomarkers, blood, but I wish that they would do a research, sit down, have a committee, and bring about 200 veterans in from the Gulf War, I'm talking about from Desert Storm to Iraqi freedom,
Right.
and sit down and listen to what the guys are suffering from and what they're suffering from, why they're suffering. Because I guarantee you that right there would make a huge difference in how the VA would go, hey, you know what? Maybe we need to start looking at this a little bit differently, especially for PTSD.
Absolutely, 100%, especially the PTSD. You know, I mean, you said, I think, John, you said it earlier about how a reoccurrence of something that comes, you know, I mentioned a few things and right away I seen you were like, oh yeah, you know, and I don't know. I mean, I've been through several things with counseling with PTSD and techniques and this and that. And I don't know that it gets any easier, but I know that I can say, hey, I don't feel myself. I need to do a little something for it, you know, whether it's self-care, this, that, or go to a counselor again and you know, hear me out. Or I have a couple of buddies now that, you know, that are vets that we talk pretty often, but yeah, I don't know. That PTSD is some serious stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Kevin,
Go ahead.
you had shared a video with me, and I was listening to this therapist. We talked about a little bit, and you've probably heard it as well, talking about the 22 suicides and how we think about something and the amount of time. This therapist explained the amount of time once it hits your head, the time frame that goes by from when that thought comes into your head to the one who decides somebody takes their own life. I guess it's like, I don't know, what did we hear? Was it 10 minutes? Yeah. And if you can get past that, the likelihood of committing suicide is way less. And I thought, isn't that interesting? Because we've all been in that really dark zone, and you know, you can feel it, but pulling yourself out is way difficult sometimes. You know?
Right. And I mean, there's things out there that people just, I couldn't even understand. I mean, I couldn't, like I said, I can't understand what y'all went through. I mean, I can understand the not knowing to me was probably more scarier than anything else. Not knowing if we were going to hit a mine, not knowing if Iran was going to, you know, send nukes while we're in the middle of war with Iraq, because, you know, how Iran is, they're really great, you know. But overall, I think the best way of connecting is with veterans.
Yep.
Other people who've been through it, knows what it's like, and talking about it. Not trying to bring up, hey, let's talk about your bad moments, but talking about solutions.
Right.
And there are solutions out there. But a lot of guys aren't willing to talk about it yet, but I'm hoping that they are, you know. I mean, even the younger guys coming back from Afghanistan that's, you know, over there, you know.
And knowing that the solution isn't in a bottle or whether it's a bottle of alcohol or a bottle of pills, that's easier said than done. But you're right. There's solutions besides medicating yourself, whatever form medication takes, right? So,
I mean, I don't think there's going to be a cure for the stuff I got. I don't. I mean, I'm hopeful that maybe one day, but I don't think there's going to be a cure for us. That's just my thought process. I think they'll figure out exactly what we were exposed to, and I think they'll come out with, you know, medication or mechanisms that can help relieve the pain and relieve some of it, but we're not going to be able to cure it all. And I mean, that's just my gut feeling.
No, I think that's a fair statement. I think the best we can do at this point is try and, you know, talk to one another and find out how to manage it. Because resolving it, I don't know if that's a plausible thought process. Which, I mean, everybody has their viewpoints, right? I mean, but what we're doing is talking about it, not necessarily specific details. because that's awfully difficult to do on a one-on-one, let alone on a, situation like this. But yeah, is it going to get resolved? Likelihood, realistically, no. Just trying to understand how to live with it, and you're not alone. And that in its own right, I think, is a lot helpful to other folks, because you're not alone. Because a lot of us, you don't understand that you're not alone until you've talked to those other service personnel who, wait a second, you experienced that, or you're feeling this, or what was that you said? And something that clicks, you're like, that gets the conversation, and conversation is what helps. Doesn't mean it's going to solve anything, but up here,
right. Now that you say that, like, we didn't have podcasts, when we got out, but
right
now with these podcasts and the way they spread so fast on social media, maybe you're that guy that decides, hey, I'm going to get on here, what they're talking on this podcast, and you hear it from other vets. Like you said, it may not completely change them, but it may redirect what they were thinking and say, hey, that guy said something that was important to me. Like, I know what he felt. So, I think these podcasts are a great way to get people to get on, even if you're just listening or whatever. Like I said, you hear something, oh yeah, get his attention or their attention. They might get redirected and, okay, well, let me that, or.
And I also think it's good for, it isn't just that. I mean, it's been great for me. It's helped me a lot. It's helped me come out of that shell that I've been in for so long, because my family really, they knew some of the funny stories, but they didn't know everything. Now that more and more stories are coming out, they're starting to learn more. They're kind of understanding the way I was. I'm sure my kids are probably saying, "Oh no, that's not the way," But but over time, I do know the one thing I think that has helped me the most is family, family and church. My church family. I'm telling you, man, is that's been a great positive in my life. I bless God for that. And, and no matter what your beliefs are, you got to have some kind of a family. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just hope that everybody would find that clique of a family that they could get in with.
You met your family, and like Joe, when you're coming on, and my, Kevin, as you mentioned the word family, it was in the last week or so. My wife said something. He says, when you talk to other fellow members, you call them brother and sister. I said, yeah. She goes, is that normal? I said, it is with us. It is with us, because you spent a lot of time and communication, and what it was that the very, very, very small population of us military personnel, it's only us that understand each other. We can talk until we're blue in the face to a civilian, and nothing against the civilians. I don't think I'm any better than the next person. The bottom line is they didn't wear the uniform. Yeah. And until you're born the uniform, you hear us. And nothing against them, they just don't understand. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
Very fair.
But let me tell you, never tell your wife that the best 4 years of your life was the military. You will not live that shit down at all. Trust me. I'm guilty. And I accidentally said it one day, and she's like, what, your kids aren't even your most important? Or how about the same day you said I do? I was like, oh, shit.
You jumped in with both feet, open mouth, insert foot.
But the great thing was, I went to a Navy reunion, and somebody said, yeah, my husband said that was the best 4 years of my life. My wife says, my husband said the same thing. And then they kind of talked and worked it out. So I don't hear it as much now, but let me tell you, man, when I first said it, I thought I was going to get killed. I was like looking for a frying pan. I was looking for a pool stick upside of my head. I mean, I am telling you, and like I told her, I wasn't meaning it to sound like that. It was just a brotherhood,
Oh yeah.
and that I mean, you relied on these people, life and
Yeah.
death, to keep you, you know, keep your heart going, keep the love going, and my ship did that. And until this day, I talk to 98% of the people on my ship.
Wow.
I'm glad that I'm glad, Kevin, and hopefully you, Joe, can remember those who you were in combat with. Because I'll be honest, I cannot, because I was backfilling a unit. I didn't know these people. I hope you folks, well, Kevin, clearly you do. Did Joe, you able to remember the folks you served with?
Not well. I remember the team, the Papa Bear Task Force Ripper guys. But to know what unit I was actually with before, I don't remember.
Man,
Just
let me tell you.
so many faces and names, and now you remember some guys from boot camp, or hey, I went to school with this guy there, or hey, I went to Tijuana with that guy, or what I mean, there's a few of those, but like you said, you said something important to Kevin, where you had that relationship where you talk with them and they had your back. Like I look at coworkers now, or any coworkers I've ever had before, maybe one, two have that relationship that I've ever had with my former Marines. I mean, because you had deep conversations, and you've seen that look in that other person through some rough times or good times, or coming back from all this, I mean, or conversations when you were out there in the desert talking, or you in the ship, well, hey, what's going to happen? What do you think? That's opening a part that very few know.
Right. And you're right, because, I mean, even today, 7 of us were texting back and forth about us just getting together and everything. And then I got one buddy who called me this weekend out of the blue. I got another buddy who will send me text messages. We're all constantly, and there's one, I'm not going to say his name. I'll say his first name. His name was David. But when he found out that the guy who was my best man at my first wedding committed suicide, he sent me some stuff about the ship, signs and stuff, because I got pretty down about it. It's like, I spent every waking moment with that guy, and to know what happened, it didn't make sense. None of it makes sense. But as you put the pieces together now, in between the pain that your physical body's going through, the mental stage of what people's, even the bodies, or what they seen or they done, along with knowing right now there isn't a cure, not knowing how much worse it's going to get, that weighs on a veteran. It really does. And, the best thing I can tell anybody is live every day like it's your last day, and enjoy the hell out of it. And that, to me, is the key thing. I mean, I live my day, look forward to something. Don't look backwards. Look forward to what you got in life.
Yep. Having that something to look forward is hugely important. It was my brother who was a veteran. He happened to serve in the Coast Guard, but it was him that, told me, he says, John, I got to have that something to look forward to. And I'm like, yeah. And that's the damn truth, because you got to have a reason to get out of bed in the morning, right? So yeah.
Yeah, just getting out of bed, and like you said, having that, whether it's that something or that goal that motivates you to say, hey, I can go tackle this day, and yeah, I self-talk myself all the time about that,
Yeah,
have a great day, man,
my family's my motivation, but let me tell you, my biggest motivator is my granddaughter.
Oh
my God. I'm telling you, that little girl, she, I mean, is my highlight. I talk about her all day and night. Yeah, well, I talk about her. Well, in between in between my wife going to school, podcast, and her, she ranks in the first of what I talk about. And I look forward, it's like, oh, I get to go see her tonight. Woo!
I have a granddaughter the same way, man. She is my joy. She has a younger brother and a sister now, but because she's the oldest, I'm telling you, like I have it on my phone. Just wow.
So there is a favorite.
You love your kids, but that one grandkid or grandkids, it's a special deal, man.
It sure is, and that's what I'm talking about. That's what I want everybody. There is something out there. It's called hope. It's called love. I mean, the home decoratings that you see on the walls that say love, hope, and dreams and this. Believe it or not, whoever did that was a smart person. Because if you look at it, you can look at everybody's got hope, believing in yourself. And you got dreams, you got all that. Even no matter what the circumstances you have been through, there's always the hope. And also, for me, it's God. God, he's guiding me right now. I'm letting him. He's the one that's giving me the voice. And I just hope he doesn't take it away. I'm sure some people do, but I hope he doesn't, But, I mean, in friendship, when I first met John, I'm going to tell everybody this story. I sent him an email about coming on, or a message, right, John, about coming on podcast.
Yep.
He wasn't ready. So I would probably say it was probably 3-4 months or 6 months, really, or 5, in between 3 to 6 months. He decided he wanted to come on and talk. And me and him clicked ever since. I found a really great friend out of him. I could call him day and night. He answers. We talk. It's a blessing. Right. There's a reason why God puts the people in your life. And I keep in contact with everybody I have on my show. I try to. I send them messages and everything because it isn't just about, hey, come on, talk. It's about, hey, let's build a family. We can do this.
I was grateful that you asked me to be part of the show, and you got to have hope. And, you said hope, and I'm thinking hope and a prayer, and made me think of Wade, who was in 82nd and jumping out of airplanes. And I'm like, oh, hell no. No, I could skim you down a rope, on air assault if, I never did. But I could do that. But when you're telling me that, and hope and a prayer, you got to have something to look forward to. And I think about Sarah out there and the things that she's doing and what she deals with. And I'm like, the various other people we've had on, I think, man, if they can do it, and they keep that, it's talking to one another. And when we talk to one another and read each other's posts, we're like, okay, I generally put on something that maybe I try not to go too deep, but sometimes that's not always possible because I get kind of deep in my own head sometimes, and that can be scary. You just try and have fun and make somebody smile. You can be a smart ass. If it puts a smile on your face, they know I'm not being serious. I'm just joking around because I'm a ginormous smart ass. But that's just me. So.
Well, and somehow I seen Kevin's thing, and I responded to a message on social media, Facebook, and then he called me or, messaged me. And so we kind of connected, and I told him, that this is a big stepping stone for me because I wasn't this guy that, sat here and rah. But somehow I thought, with this podcast and the way it goes out in the message, that I'd like to be part of that because, helping others, man, what great, if we could save somebody's life tonight or here soon, or help them reach out to you or whatever it is.
and educate the young.
then man, that fulfills my I did the right thing by coming on,
Right.
which I know I did because, like I said, I felt it was time that, hey, I want to sit around and talk with some guys and visit and tell what I feel or what I don't feel. And yeah, it's a great thing. Thank you. I'm grateful for sure.
Right. And 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 to let everybody know out there, there is a big, big PAC bill for us that needs to get passed in the Senate. And I hope everybody who listens to it, I'm going to preach it until they vote on it. It needs to go through. It's more funding for us. It's more funding to get people the help. People need to call their senators.
What's the name of it again, Kevin?
It's the PACT Act. You call your veterans, like every senator has a veterans assistant, and you call them, what's that word? Veterans liaison?
Right.
Liaison?
Yeah.
And now I can't say it.
Yeah. I think I said it right for the first time in my life. Studying them big words with my wife in nursing school has taught me some stuff. But it needs to be passed. I mean, it isn't just the veterans that need to call. Everybody has a veteran that they know. And they're going to have a kid that's going to go in. There's people out there that don't realize we're not doing this to benefit us. We're doing this to educate the young also. And we don't want them to go through what we went through for the understandings. And I laugh so hard because I'm telling you, this is, to me, I affiliate within no party anymore, and Republican or Democrat anymore. I affiliate for my damn self. But I will honestly sit here and tell you, I've heard Republicans blame the Democrats for the VA. I heard the Democrats blame the Republicans for, back and forth. But when I hear the Republicans say it, I sit there and there's one thing I tell them all. I had a Republican president during the war. I've had a Democrat president afterwards. I had a Republican, Democrat, Democrat. Not one of them has helped us.
You said that. That's truth right there.
And the Senate and the House, you know what? They need to get off their butts and start not worrying about what the lobbyists do, but what the veterans do. Because the veterans are starting to gather, and we're starting to say, hey, no more. We want help. We don't want our kids to go through this crap. And you can see it more and more every day.
Yes, you certainly, you can definitely see it. Now, not being, this isn't a political statement. This is about happen to be a father who has a son that was in the military. Okay, so Biden has, so now, does that make Biden any better than the next person? I'm not suggesting one way or another. All I'm saying is that he had a son that was in the military, and he has a broader perspective of things because that individual,
he brought it up.
He was individual. To each their own on political, but I'm not even going to go down that. I'm just talking about what's the term? If you have some, you understand it because you had a child that served, or whether maybe it's how they're able to wrap their head around the whole thing of having someone, one of their loved ones in the military. I think gives them a better perspective. That's just my thought. So I'm going to leave it at that before I step on somebody's toes. I don't like Biden at all.
But the one thing I'll give him credit for, heck, I don't like any of them. But I give him credit for willfully coming out saying, we need to look into what happened with the burn pits and the oil rig fires, because he believes his son got cancer from it.
Yep.
At least he said it. I may not agree with any of his policies, but hell, I agreed with that statement, and I respected that. And and that's not political. It's finally acknowledging there's something out there that
Yeah,
happened to us.
Yeah, you phrased it better than I did, Kevin. I was stepping all over the place. I don't want to piss anybody off.
To
Right,
me,
yeah, no, it's a touchy subject. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
to me, I don't mind pissing anybody off. I don't give a flying flip. I mean, I'm going to say what the hell's on my mind because I'm the one dealing with the pain I got. My fellow veterans, my brothers and sisters that I served with, we're all dealing with the same thing. Hell yeah, I'm pissed. And we all should be. But at the same time, we all should be grateful. We're still here. We're trying to figure things out, and we're going to get the veterans help that needs to be helped.
That's what it boils down to. Veterans helping veterans, and that's why, Joe, I'm very grateful that you came onto the show this evening. It's always nice to see a new face, get a new perspective, different people's perspectives on things. Because we've met a lot of different people on this program, and all good folks. I just it's always nice to hear something different, you know.
well, like I said, I was just grateful for the opportunity. When he called me, reached out to me, I thought, man, yeah, I like podcasts already, but now a veteran one, like, heck yeah, let's help each other, help who we can, you know.
And
Absolutely.
please stay in contact with us.
Okay.
Is there anything else anybody would like to say? Everybody got everything off of their chest?
Well, we don't have
no,
enough-
we don't have enough time for that. But hey, I'm going to welcome, Joe. I thank you. I'm so glad you came on. Please stay in contact with us. You know,
Absolutely.
don't lose sight. If you need anything, you got my cell phone number. You
I
call
do,
me.
I do.
You call me day or night. I'm not bashful about giving out my cell phone number. and I mean, ask John. John, he can call me day or night. It doesn't matter. And I'm grateful to have John as my co-host. And and I'm grateful for everybody who listens, who's supporting the show and listening. And I love each and every one of our veterans.
Now, for me, the first time coming on to this podcast, and maybe people that are out there listening, is it on every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday night, we will be live unless
Okay.
I, have some major medical thing come on, but we'll figure that out as time. But every
7 p.m.
Tuesday,
Central.
7
Okay.
p.m. Central Time.
Okay.
And then it releases the podcast on all major podcast stations, Apple, all that stuff. But they'll be released Thursday.
Okay.
Everything. And Facebook and YouTube. I want to grow the YouTube channel up because I think we can reach more vets. So
Yeah. No, I absolutely.
yeah. So I want to thank each and every one of our listeners for listening to Go For Side Effects. And remember, this is Veterans Connecting. Y'all please go to my website at goforsideeffects.wordpress.com or email me at kevinsimon@goforsideeffects.com. And please help support this podcast and the veterans by clicking on the link below. Thank you for your support.